Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Barb Hartman and Marcus Ellis. Yes, you both have found your way into the darkness of the Fox Den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. Yeah, I am feeling very weak from lack of nutrients, and I see you have brought me something to feed on. Absolutely delicious. I do adore both of you, and thank you for releasing me from my shackles. Now that I am fully revamped and powered up, yes, it is once again time for Barb Hartman and Marcus Ellis, and of course LordeStarfox to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. Yes, this is the official stomping ground of the Midnight Society. We do have a friend and also a member of the North American Dogman Project representing the good old state of Mississippi. Of course, I'm referring to Marcus, my other amazing host, Barb Hartman. Yes, she is a weekly host, and we have our little sister podcast, Camp Nightmare Fuel, will be joining us very shortly here. I actually was just hanging out with her, Mr. Barber, and the legendary Tom Cantrell, talking a little bit of some interesting Sasquatch history over on Barb's thread. So make sure everyone heads over there and checks that out. But yes, she will be joining us here shortly. Marcus, my guy, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good.
I apologize for being late. I was just wrapping up the other podcast that you and I just did. Just did together, Kenny and Marcus. I am so honored to be listening to you. And wow, this is just amazing. I have questions. So you're in Mississippi. How close are you to Louisiana?
I'm in central Mississippi. I can get to Vicksburg in, say, about 45 minutes. I can be across the bridge in another 10 or 15. So I'm about an hour away from Louisiana.
Do you think that there's any connection to, the Rougarou, the Loop, is it Loop Guru?
Yeah, the Lougarou.
Yeah, and then is it Rougarou? Is that the other one?
Yeah, it's basically the dialect. Your French Arcadian, and you're basically using two different words or descriptions that pretty much represent the same cryptid.
Okay.
We probably would consider it more so a Dogman, situation. Although when you look into the legends and over in Louisiana and stuff like that, sometimes it's not Dogman. Sometimes that's really not what it represents. Sometimes you're talking about an actual shapeshifter. you're talking something along the lines of the skinwalker type situation. So with the Lougarou and Louisiana, you're getting a little bit of both worlds. You're getting Dogman, and then you're getting that old school French, that melting pot, everything coming up from New Orleans and spreading out into Louisiana. You're getting a lot of that French and European, werewolf type action.
So how do you know, and I guess I was going to ask if, but you, I think, answered the question for me in that some of this does kind of leak over into Dogman. Some of the sightings you believe are really the Rougarou or vice versa. Do you think that there's any connection that with the Dogman and the, and Rougarou? Do you think that there is a connection between them?
I would say it's highly possible. I mean, could I say with 100% certainty?
Right,
I probably would be. I might be pushing the boundaries of that. But again, when you look at the descriptions of the Lougarou, and when you look at the description that we get of the Dogman phenomenon, the similarities are uncanny.
Yes.
So, we used to get something that I discovered when I got into this. I've been going out and doing research and investigations into the cryptid realm for close to 9 years now. I'm sure you're familiar with Bigfoot investigator and researcher M.K. Davis.
Yes.
Turns out MK lives right in the same town that I do, and I had Bigfoot activity going on my home property, and I reached out to a group, and they were like, "Oh, hey, do you know MK Davis?" And I'm scratching my head, going, "MK Davis, MK Davis," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, do you?" I always say this, and I hope MK doesn't get mad at me, and I don't think he will. But the M in MK stands for Marlin. And I said, wait a minute, are you talking about Marlin Davis? Yeah, I think that's his first name. He lives in the same town you do. And I'm like, well, heck yeah, I know MK Davis. We used to go to church together. What about him? And he proceeds to tell me that MK is like one of the big foremost names in the Bigfoot world and community. So I call MK up and I tell him what's going on my property, and he says, yeah, it looks like you got something going on there. And I had been along with, I do have a day job, but I was also a professional musician. And my band, we had just kind of splintered and broke up. So I had all this time on my hands. And from the point of time that I was a kid, growing up in the 70s, I had a big imagination in the 70s. We had this big, huge, I call it a paranormal boom. I mean, things just exploded. Every time you cut the TV on, you saw something about the Bermuda Triangle. You saw something about UFOs. You saw something about the Loch Ness Monster. You saw something about haunted houses. And then the Patterson-Gimlin film came out, where you could, where it was, even though that was filmed in the late 60s, in the early 70s, whatever, that's when it really got out there and started making the rounds.
Right. Because it's not like in today's world where, like either social media or on cable, it'll be right there, the news. But no, this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it took years for it to get out really to where it's available and making the rounds. And at that point, I was hooked. In 1973, we had a major UFO flap. The infamous Pascagoula abduction case occurred with, Hickson and Parker. And of course, I'm a young kid. We even had a Mothman sighting in Mississippi at this point. Unconfirmed, but there supposedly was one. And all this knowledge I had a really scary encounter at one of my research sites. There's 3 Indian mounds, 3 huge Indian mounds at this research area. Myself, separately, MK, because again, this is another place he introduced me to. He had weird, crazy, wild stuff happened to him at this place. I had weird, wild, crazy stuff happen to me at these 3 Indian mounds together. And there is a connection between Bigfoot, Dogman, and the paranormal at these Indian mounds. Now, it may not be every single Indian mound that you go to, but your chances are elevated. There is a connection there. I found an accounting of right here in Yazoo County, which is where I live, of these huge giants that had dealings with the at the time the Yazoo Indians, which were prevalent in this area, hence the name Yazoo City and Yazoo County, and that situation.
Got
So the Yazoo Indians were dealing with giants, these big, huge, tall, humanoid beings.
Yes.
And when the Chickasaw Indians and the Choctaw Indians, when they came from the west and crossed over the Mississippi River into Tennessee, and when they started coming down, the Choctaw were probably the Choctaw and the Chickasaw were your biggest tribes. And the Choctaw traditions tell you that when they came down, they ran into huge 10, 12 foot tall, red-haired, 6-fingered and toed giants who were vicious, and the Choctaws would let it be known we destroyed these things every chance we could, because nobody or nothing could get along with them.
Okay,
So,
yeah, irredeemable.
Again, right. That circles back to what we have and what MK taught me about the mounds, especially the ones where I'm using as a research area. I've encountered Bigfoot activity out there. I have found huge canine prints. The prints were like 5 inches by 5.5 inches. Now, does that necessarily mean that these were Dogman prints? Not necessarily, but that's a big canine. I mean, that's a big critter.
Right.
We have come across and documented extremely well, I might add, in this Sky Lake area and in the area of that same county, but in this same Sky Lake area, we have eyewitness confirmation. We've interviewed people in person and even law enforcement. Supposedly, 2 separate occasions, about a year apart, they decimated this poor farmer's livestock.
Wow.
And we interviewed an eyewitness who saw these 2 chupacabras. They came out of the tree line into his backyard. and these chupacabras were not the poor, pitiful, mangy looking,
Yes.
You see those poor things and your heart just breaks for them, because their skin's all gray and ate up. The poor things, you can look at them and tell they're miserable. What this man saw and what the farmer saw. I was at a conference, and I'll remind me to come back to that here in just a second. But this guy who I met at a business conference, they all saw these things, and they said that none of them missed a beat when they gave a description. The description was, I'm 5'7", and the back of these chupacabras would come up to my chest. I mean, they would hit right about here.
Whoa.
And the face and the head, at first off, when MK was telling me about this, and when I was with him and interviewed this witness, I was thinking, this is Dogman. This is Dogman. But I was wrong, because the descriptions of these chupacabras was completely, the size might have been close to a Dogman, but the description was totally not Dogman. These things were probably, not counting the tail, these things were 6.5 feet long, nose to rear end. And I said, that's not counting the tail. The backs of them come up to my chest.
Wow.
And the guy told me, he said, these things looked evil. He said, these things looked just absolutely demonic. And when these creatures broke into this guy's corral, they somehow or another, they got the heads off of the hogs and the goats.
Wow.
None of the meaty sections they touched. They left all that alone. So
Wild.
again, when I was at those Indian mounds and I saw those prints, I had to consider, number one, the state of Mississippi did try to reintroduce red wolves back into the state, and a wolf print can be very big. So I had to consider that this might have been a wolf print. But beyond that, again, when you look at Indian mounds, Bigfoot activity, Dogman activity, I had to put Dogman on the table.
Absolutely.
And then knowing what I, right, from those Indian mounds to the Sky Lake area, as the crow flies, is only like 7 or 8 miles.
Oh, that's,
I mean,
nothing.
it's not far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a walk through the park for these,
Right.
you know.
Can you, before we get any further, I have not heard your the details on your encounter. Would you please can you please tell me that? When you saw the
Okay,
dog?
you're talking about my Dogman sighting?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, people have often asked me, most of my friends and family, they know what I do. And a lot of my coworkers know. And everybody always asks me, well, Marcus, what are you going to do? You know, if you see a Bigfoot, or if you see a Dogman, you're out there looking for these things, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I can't answer that. Do you want to see one? Yeah, but I want to see it under certain conditions. Well, what's your conditions? My conditions are, I'm way over here, it's way over there. That's my dream encounter. That's my dream encounter. And thus far, you know, I've seen 2 Sasquatch in 2 separate research areas that I have, and then I saw this Dogman, and they were at a distance. There was no question, there was no doubt about what they were.
Right.
So in my view, the 2 Bigfoot that I saw, there's no question what they were. I mean, I was looking right at them.
Right.
And then the same thing happened, Sky Lake. And what happened was this was in November of last year. As I was telling Kenny, the Sky Lake area, it's big. Part of it is a wildlife management area, a WMA, and it's well kept. They keep it clean, they keep it mowed. They've got hiking trails, and you can go there and you can feel very safe. I feel very safe and secure there. I've got, you know, a couple of my other research areas. The minute my feet hit the ground, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. You know, but Sky Lake. Yeah, I've had some, I won't say frightening things. I haven't really been like, holy crap, it's time for me to go, I need to get out of here. I've never really had anything like that happen there. But it's just a spooky, weird, strange place at times. Well, anyway, I had gone out to Sky Lake to, in this case, I was going to go into the park, because they have a park and a boardwalk. I was going to go hit the boardwalk. I was going to walk the boardwalk. It takes you a quarter of a mile back into this old ancient cypress tree swamp. The cypress trees are hundreds, thousands of years old. They're as big around as my bedroom. The base of them. I mean,
that's amazing.
It is. If you can't go there and appreciate nature and what this planet can do, then I don't know what to say for you.
Yeah.
But again, that was one of my places, and is one of my places that I go on a very regular basis. So anyway, this particular morning, it was a Sunday morning. It was a beautiful sunshiny day. It was cool. It wasn't too cold. It wasn't too hot. Light jacket weather, sunshiny, barely a cloud in the sky. And I parked, and I got all my gear on. I got my GoPro going, and, I had my tri-field meters and all this other stuff. And I got out of my vehicle, and I walked up this little incline to where they have this little amphitheater thing. And I started walking down the amphitheater, this little, knoll or whatever. And I was going to cut around and hug the tree line to get to the boardwalk. Well, when I got down to the base of it, I caught movement off to my, it would have been off to my right, which would have been to the east. And I turned around, and Marcus didn't have his cameras going.
Well,
So I catch this movement. So I turn around, and I would say probably 60 yards, maybe 70. There's this big, huge clearing that this side butts up against the tree line, the swamp. It's open. It's this big open area. I'm going to say this track was probably 400 or 500 yards in length total. I've hiked it before, and it's really a beautiful hike. But anyway, I'm probably, rough guessing, 60, 70 yards, square dab in the middle of this area. They had pushed up a bunch of brush. It was a brush pile. And I look over toward the tree line, the swamp line, and I see this black shape. And after a few seconds, this black shape comes out of the tree line, heading towards that debris pile. I'm sitting here looking at this thing. Again, I wish I'd had the camera on my face, because my jaw probably dropped down and hit my chest. But this thing comes out. It's jet black. It's huge. It's monstrous. The first thing that goes through my mind is, of course, black bear. Am I seeing a black bear? Mm-hmm. Well, I struck that off the list immediately, because the head, this is what I remember most. It was jet black. I remember the legs. The legs were canine looking legs. They were dog legs. They weren't the legs of a bear.
Uh-huh.
They had that dog shape to them.
Yeah.
And then the head, this is where it really struck home. The head was long. It was pronounced. There was a snout. I didn't see teeth.
Okay.
But I saw the long muzzle, and I saw tall, pointed black ears.
Yeah.
I heard one guy say it was like looking at a side profile of Batman. That's what this looked like. It was tall, pointed, canine, dog-looking ears.
Wow.
And it wasn't running. The second reason why I discounted a bear is because of the way this thing was moving. If you've ever seen videos on YouTube or nature shows and stuff like that, if you watch, just about any type of bear run, they've got this distinctive, kind of lope. This thing was not doing that. This thing, it was just this effortless movement. It was fluid. the way this thing ran canine,
Okay.
but it also ran. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, to it being a dog man. Wow.
Right. So it wasn't creeping. Once you get past the little debris field pile there, and that's where I lost him at. When he went in behind that, I never saw him again. There were some other little scruffy trees, so I only saw the dog man up until the time he got in behind that debris pile. But at the time he got in behind the debris pile, on up the little rise, get this, Barb, there's a cemetery.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna ask you if there was a cemetery, because that isn't there just about always?
There was a cemetery.
Whoa.
An old cemetery. When it went in behind the debris pile, a deer that I had not seen, because again, it was obscured by these little scruffy trees. This deer comes out, runs in front of the debris pile into the swamp. Now the deer, he was hauling. He was carrying the mail. He was gone. He or she didn't want no part of whatever this thing was. And I suspect, I don't know, I suspect that the dog man might have seen the deer, and that's breakfast.
Sure.
I was completely alone in the park. There was nobody there. Again, early in the morning, nobody comes to this place. So, and that's why I go. And just as a side note, I have found out that you can have just as much Bigfoot, Dogman, paranormal. You can have just as much activity from your pre-dawn hours right up to 9, 10 o'clock. I've had crazy, scary crap happen to me at 9 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So, you know, I'm not much of a night owl. I like to sleep.
Yeah.
So, you know, getting out 2 o'clock in the morning and going chasing Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I have done it, but I'm not a fan. So I'm an early bird, you know, so I like to get up, and that's usually when I have my experiences.
Do you think that all right, in my opinion, that time that you're saying, like 9, 10:30 a.m., I feel like that's their late night, right? Do you think that? Do you agree with that?
That's a good way of putting it. I never considered it. Yeah, that could be their late night. That could be their late night. And I mean, you know, when you get hungry, what do? You go eat. So I think this thing was hungry. I think it's all the possibility of an easy meal. And, you know, I think it was going for the deer. And now the deer never saw me. To my knowledge, the dog man never saw me. I don't think they even knew I was there. And as Kenny will tell you, and as you no doubt well know, dog man, they have a bad attitude. They have no cares to give. How many times, Kenny, have we had reports? You know, this thing comes out and it stood right there in front of me, and it was not afraid of me. It let me know it wasn't afraid of me. Dog men are not really scared of humans. And I think it was going for the deer. That's my view. I think the deer thought it was going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it was looking at the meal, it was like, okay, if it was hungry and that's a great meal in front of me. But it also could be as far as, you know, so, all right. So with that being said, that it didn't know that you were there, or its senses were elsewhere. But if it did know that you were there, it probably was like, whatever, he's of no consequence to me.
Yeah. I mean, most dogman encounters, that's what you get. You're you know, the more I think about it, I mean, when you talk about or think of animals and their sense of smell and their senses, period, I would be a little shocked if it didn't know I was there, because again, I pulled up, I parked, I geared up. I put my stuff on my backpack, and I got my Garmin, GPS going and all that stuff. I mean, maybe it did, maybe it didn't realize I was there. If it knew I was there, it didn't care. It didn't care at all.
Yeah, I have not seen a Dogman. I think I may have from a distance, though. We own a farm in Pennsylvania, and we were changing the batteries on the security cameras, and now I'm a Sasquatch encounter researcher, so that's always was my focus. But I thought something just feels weird about this, and I do have my camera. I had my camera, and I was taking a video, and then I think I took a video, and then I took a picture, and it certainly did. And that was I had given that to Kenny right away, and he showed it to his team, and they said yes. But that's it. I felt like very much aloofness. Like, I can see you, and I can see you, and vice versa, and I don't care. And it was a very it was a creepy feeling.
I mean, and that's an excellent point, because again, I can't tell you how many cases I've read and stories I've listened to and witnesses that I've heard that have been on other shows and documentaries and podcasts and all. And, some of them have encountered, I guess you'd basically call it mind speak from some of these creatures. I don't think mind speak is just relegated to the Bigfoot, Sasquatch phenomenon. Because again, there have been witnesses that have encountered these things. They have heard in their minds, I know who you are, I know where you live, and I can come get you anytime I want to. Right. I've heard stories along that line.
Now, what about, I have heard, and a really good friend of mine, she's from Australia, Carrie Ann, and she has a Dogman. She said that no, it's not. They do not go by a pack. It's a clan that that live in her, in her whatever, her yard property, and one or two of them mind speak with her. Have you heard of anything like this?
I have not. Again, maybe perhaps Kenny has, but I have not. Most of, if not all of the encounters I've ever heard of, the bulk of them have usually been negative.
Yeah, I have never. But what's strange is that, okay, so you hear the one, and this is like this with a lot of the things that we uncover through our research. Anyway, you hear about it one time, and then all of a sudden, more of it comes out. And from people that have nothing to do, it's not like these people are conspiring, like, oh, let's all act like we have really nice Dogman clans living around us. No, this is like completely separate people, completely separate demographics, location. And I've been hearing that, I think 5 or 6 times now, that they're having these we would have with a dog, like dog man's best friend, kind of like that, very protective. Right. Yes.
The truth of it is, Barb, is this, and you just said the key words. We don't know. Nobody has all the answers, and that's just the fact of it. We may never have the answers. People will go, well, and I've heard other researchers and investigators get asked this question. Well, doesn't that frustrate you that we may never have the answer? Well, yeah, it's going to be a little frustrating, but I've accepted that fact. Yes. I do what I do because I enjoy it. As a Dogman investigator, what we do at times is dangerous. So when I say, when I say I'm having fun, I am having fun, but I'm enjoying. I enjoy the mystery. I do enjoy the thrill of it, but I also enjoy the outdoors. I love the exercise. It gets me out and away from a desk. And I love taking pictures and video of nature. But I can come home and I've got my pictures and I got my videos to look at and all like that. I feel like I've come home after finding Blackbeard's treasure chest. You know, we've underestimated the intelligence of Dogman.
Yeah,
these things are smart.
So with Dogman, one of the questions I have before I see what Kenny has to say is, did you say that you think that their structures, that they make with wood, is it just like, did you talk about that at all?
In the Sky Lake area where M.K. Davis had discovered a Bigfoot structure, it was a Bigfoot structure.
Okay.
I've never encountered anything that Dogman, I'm not aware of Dogman doing structures. Again, Kenny may know some more about that, but no, I've encountered Bigfoot structures, but not anything that I'm aware of as Dogman.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one more question: have you heard a Dogman?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm looking back on this. I'm leaning it more so towards Dogman. The 3 Indian mounds that I was telling you about. I was out there one morning. Of these 3 mounds, the main mound has got some bad juju. I mean, there's been some bad stuff that's happened on this main mound. Now I'm only about 25 feet away from the base of this mound, and this guttural growl comes off of that mound, and I mean, it catches me in the throat. I mean, I feel it in my chest. And I'll be honest with you guys. There are times where I go into the field with a sidearm. And when this thing growled at me, I didn't pull it, but my safety strap, I popped it. And I had to walk up this little incline to get to my vehicle. I didn't walk up it, I backed up it. Because this thing was deep, it was guttural, it was loud and clear. I don't want you here. I don't like what you're doing. And at first off, I thought it might have been Bigfoot, but now I really think it was probably Dogman. I didn't see nothing, but Lord knows I heard it and felt it. And the message was loud and clear. But it was very strange. It was very kind of chilling. I'll say it like that. And again, this is in like the pre-dawn hours out there. Because I would go out there and run thermal and night vision and stuff. And I would hear these weird howls, these weird screams. Could it have been something native and indigenous? Well, yeah, sure, it could have. But it didn't feel like it.
Yeah. Wow. Marcus, this has been so awesome. Thank you for sharing all this. Oh my gosh. And Kenny, thank you for including me.
Man, look, it's been my privilege, my honor to hang out with both you guys. I've had a ball. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like, I'd like to talk to you some more. Definitely. We'll have to stay in touch.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like I say, if you guys ever want me to come back, all you got to do is just let me know.
Oh, you legends, I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the truth to the algorithm, and we will catch you very soon.